All right, boys and girls, we are live at 1:44, and welcome to Eight Questions with. Okay, we are here a little early to the game because Kevin is currently wrapping up his show, TuberChat, which airs 4 times a week. Um, and I met Kevin through Phil. That's that's a great piece of timing, Phil. Um, yeah, so I'm gonna interview Kevin from TuberChat. So that's awesome. Hey, Jaden, how are you, sir? Welcome to the stream. Welcome to the stream. Okay, and I hope you guys will all come and stay and share us out. Um, we are supposed to be rated here in momentarily. I'm sure I will be seeing a few heads pop up here in a minute. Yeah, yeah, Phil, definitely, man. That's one of the best guys. I mean, he's such a nice person. He's a very genuinely nice person who he just has everybody's yeah, he has everybody's interest in heart. And you know what's sort of funny is like it was sort of funny, Phil, is like I noticed how you're oh yeah, this is it. Yeah, I see a little bit more, I don't know. I just see a little bit more community, man. Ever since I met Kevin and I started using his tips and whatnot, it seems to be gotten a little better for me. And seeing all the dynamic creators in Tuber Chat, it's that's interesting. Greetings, Jaden. It's this one, yep. Oh, okay. Tuber Chat raid. Okay, so you're the first one to pop up then. I didn't see you in there. I didn't see you earlier. I'm sorry. If I would have said hello. So this is your first time for Eight Questions with. It's basically just a one-on-one interview um, with someone who I find to be rather interesting, has something to say, and I want to listen to it, and I want to ask questions. And I hope that you find the show enjoyable. I did, Phil. That was a lot of fun. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. It was funny because my I was gonna stay till 11:30 until John got there. Oh, that was the plan, and then my phone went kapooty at 11:28, and at 11:32 or so, he popped up. It was a seamless transition. I had a lot of fun. It was very easy to Hey, Michael, welcome, sir. House of X, welcome, welcome. So in case you have not ever seen anything like this is what it's called. Um, okay, this is what we call a raid. This is first for me. I've been on a few of these, and they're a lot of fun. Uh, Generally, have you ever been on a raid yet, Phil? Have you seen a raid? This will be the first time I've seen it here on my channel, which I hope you guys all will repeat tonight at 10 o'clock over on Hobbs Horse channel. We have actress Danielle Harris coming on at 10 o'clock tonight at the midnight hour, but I'll explain that a little bit more once Kevin gets here. Uh, yep. Greetings, Scratcher Chic. How are you? Glad you guys are all showing up. I know many of you probably came to Make Up Mom and Son's interview with Kevin yesterday. I'm hoping I will ask some fresh questions today, in case that she didn't cover anything. I hope I'm able to fill the gaps in. Thank you, Princess Beyond Passion. Welcome, welcome. And please, same as yesterday during Kevin's interview with Michelle, if you guys have questions, just throw them in the chat. We will do our best to get to them for sure. Kevin will be here in about 10 minutes or so after his show ends. I just went up early so you guys could come over a little early. Hopefully everybody's having a great Sunday afternoon. It is a warm 81 degrees here in southeastern Michigan. And in case, well, I guess we'll wait a few more heads to get here. Oh boy, this happened to me before. I'll be right back. I gotta step out for 1 second. That'll be a little better. Yes, he'll be here. He'll be here at 2 o'clock. Um, I had not really planned that out. I should have given him like an hour before having him come on. I didn't take in consideration exactly just how much talking he does. He does a lot of talking per show, doesn't he? Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and share us out. Okay. Yeah, feel free to share us out to anybody you think will want to listen. You guys can watch me do my busy work here. And one more. All right. All right. Just want to share us out best so we can. Greetings, greetings. Greetings, Mama Glow Up. Greetings, Trey and Sharonda. Greetings, Amanda. Greetings, Kristen. Thank you, Hobbs. Everybody, welcome to 8 Questions With, and thank you for coming. I hope that you enjoyed the interview today. As soon as we're done, I'm going to leave all the pertinent information about Kevin and his pages down in the description box. And also, I'm also a co-host of a live stream show called The Midnight Hour, which airs every Sunday at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And tonight we have actress Danielle Harris from the Halloween and Hatchet franchises, the Connors, Roseanne, Camp Coldbrook, See No Evil 2, and she'll be interviewed tonight, and I'll be leaving that link down below too in the description box for afterwards. And thank you, How To Lady. I appreciate it. Me too. I'm pretty pumped up too. I'm excited. I am hoping to interview at least one YouTuber every month. As far as this show goes. So, hey Michelle, how are you? Okay, we are still tracking on track for 2 o'clock. Kevin's still wrapping up the show. Hello, Rochelle. How are you? And welcome. Of course, I know you guys all know each other, but those who don't know each other, please feel free to connect with each other. Hey, Pete. How are you, sir? Rabbit Hole Clicker. That's a cool name. Okay, I'm sure there's a story behind that one. Thank you, Phenomenal. I appreciate that. That's awesome. It's a very cool sentiment to share. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad everybody's here. Okay. Good news. Kevin has seen my link. He's seen my link, so he will be here momentarily, and we will get this party started. Thanks for sharing your Sunday afternoon. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it, Rochelle. Everybody's above ground. It must be a good day. Hey, what's going on, Chadwick? Welcome to 8 Questions With, and meet a whole bunch of whole new people. Oh, thanks, Michelle. I think so too. We have a Hobbs Hoare on our panel, and he's the leader of our crew. And then we have the Spices, Vincent and Becky, and then we have Miss Boomstick on the Midnight Hour. So yes, we have a very fun panel for sure. And here's Kevin.
Hey.
Hi, Kevin. Hey.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, yep, no problem. And we already have quite the crowd.
Yeah, thank you everybody for coming over. For anybody that doesn't recognize me, thank you for coming. My name's Kevin Kaye. I'm very happy to be here. And for everybody that came over from TuberChat, thank you so much for rating. Have Cheetah Will View has been a extremely supportive creator, as you've heard me saying today, not only in TuberChat, but also on my personal channel as well. Even goes so far as to hang out with me while I stare at a sunrise for an hour and do nothing.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, I appreciate that.
I actually find those to be rather peaceful.
Some of them are, yes, absolutely. You're right.
I mean, you live in a beautiful area.
Yeah, it's been tough because we've been under extreme lockdowns for a long, long time. I wasn't able to get a haircut since before Christmas. I finally got that done. And I've been, it's been a struggle to get out and live stream and try to catch things that are interesting because there's been so little activity going on. But I really, for that reason, appreciate even more when people are able to come and hang out. You're keeping me company more than anything else, and I appreciate that.
Now, has Canada lifted their ban yet, or are you guys are still there till the end of July?
We just had the first level of lifting. So we were under what's called a stay-at-home order, which means not only can you not go out, talk to anybody, or do anything, basically. And forgive me, I don't mean to be negative, but you know what I'm talking about. Most of us have been through this in the last year, right? But
Right.
now you're able to leave your house, but you can do barely anything. You can go shopping, but are in non-essential stores, like if you want to buy clothes and things like that, are limited to 15% capacity. And then if you want to eat at a restaurant, you can only eat outdoors and still in limited capacity. So we just started being able to have that available on Friday. We're going to look at that for 3 weeks, and then they might let us go a little bit farther after that. But it's been a very tough, long time for a lot of people. I've been fortunate because I still get to work, but not everybody can, and it's been quite a struggle. So thank goodness for some of the things we're able to see on YouTube to get at least a view of other people's, outdoors, even if we haven't been able to enjoy our own, right?
Right. We have been. They have listed us a little. They've listed us from here in the States, but I think your government is actually probably erring on the side of caution.
Absolutely,
And
yes.
I
Well,
mean, go
we
ahead.
have an interesting situation here because I find it interesting in the United States that it seems to us, and I only, get what I learned from news and, what we talk about on YouTube and this and that. But even when federal, let's say, law comes down or a rule or something like that, the governors, for whatever reason, in each state are able to say, forget that, we're doing what we want. In Canada, they don't do that. Our premiers of each province absolutely seem to have respect for the office of the prime minister. And for that reason, when a federal mandate comes down, everybody seems to follow. And then the provinces are next in line, and then the cities are next in line after that.
Yeah, unfortunately, we did not get that leadership here during the pandemic. We didn't get any leadership, and that basically forced the governors to take charges of their state because there was no leadership from the federal level for us,
Interesting.
which is why we had 600,000 people die in this country. There was nobody was doing anything. It's gotten a lot better now. They got a lot more aggressive underneath President Biden, and the vaccinations have been rolling out strong. But the question is, it's like we don't know how effective they're going to be in the long run.
We'll see.
That's the
It's
big
been a
question.
long time, a lot of frustration for a lot of people. So hopefully we're seeing light at the end of the tunnel now.
I hope so too. It's been bumming. It's been a bummer because I know a lot of Canadians. I talk to a lot, and it's been really frustrating because you feel for you have empathy for you that you guys I can't really get out and do anything or make money in many cases. So hopefully in 3 weeks though nobody will get sick, and the vaccinations will come through, and
We'll see. Time will tell.
But our interview is going to start off with I'm going to go back to the very beginning with you
Okay.
because you and I have a common link, and that is music. And that's really one of the things I want to talk to you about is how did you get involved? Growing up, what was it like growing up in your house? Were you around music? Were you influenced by anybody growing up as
So
far as music goes?
it's interesting that you asked that. So thank you very much. So what happened is, for some reason, music's always been a part of my life. And when I was a very young child, too young to even remember, my parents had some people come to the house. I don't know how that happened. I should ask them, like, if they even remember what was the reason for it. But they had, when I was probably, I'm guessing 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, because I can remember vaguely. They had somebody come and test me for music, and I was able to, listen to a song that they played, probably Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star or something, and play it on an accordion right away. For those of us who don't know what an accordion is, it's similar to a piano, something that they hold. It's got air in it and this and that. There's a lot more to it, but it does have piano keys, so it's easy for somebody to get kind of started with. And I have a picture. I wish I could find it, but I don't have it on the computer I could bring up. But I have a picture of myself, probably same age, 5, 6, 7 years old, with headphones on, sitting beside the biggest piece of furniture you've seen with a record player in it. And I was listening to records, and that was my big thing. I'd always be like absolutely drawn to DJs and records and music of all types. So as a young preteen, I started getting into a lot of music. My parents bought me my first tape deck and a cassette tape to go along with it, and I listened to it over and over, and I started recording things off the radio like we shouldn't do and things like that, like everybody did. And I started collecting records. So later in life, around 19, I became a DJ. And to look at it before that, you wouldn't have necessarily predicted it. But once I had already started doing that, and soon after started working in radio and this and that, you could look back now and say, oh, it makes sense that he would be involved in this stuff because he's loved music ever since he was a child. So, even more than video games, I cared about music when I was a teenager. So I would play Nintendo, but there would always be a record playing in the background as well. And, that's been something that I've carried on for now. But thank you for asking. It was an interesting start.
So what kind of music did you listen to when you were growing up? Oh, what were your favorites? What were you drawn to?
You're always probably influenced by your parents and the people around you. My parents tend to listen to a lot of 50s and 60s, the stuff they grew up with. So I'd hear a lot of that from them. But I was always drawn to pop music and things that I would hear on the radio, right? So whatever the radio was playing, I would run out and buy records. I started working from a very young age. As soon as I was old enough to be asked to shovel my first driveway for somebody, the snow off the driveway or cut the grass for $5, I started running up and down the street, knocking on doors, asking everybody if they want me to cut their grass or shovel their snow for $5. And that's always been in me. So I started working at a very young age, always part-time jobs. I was working full-time and going to school by the time I was 15. So I had lots of money as a teenager for the purpose of just blowing. Now, I spent it all, of course, but a lot of it went to records and things. I still have them all.
Wow.
Yeah, but that's kind of how that became.
That's awesome. I mean, that's exactly how it's supposed to go, right? And so, what were some of your favorite artists growing up? You grew up in the 70s, I'm sure, right, or 80s?
I was born in the early 70s, so I really grew up in the 80s, if you want to call it that. So I did like things like Michael Jackson, Madonna, Prince, and a lot of other things you'd expect. What I found myself really liking, though, was remixes of songs that were done by either DJs or other producers. So what I used to do is read the label of the records. I don't have one in front of me that I can show you, but when you read the jacket that a record comes in, CDs have it too, tapes have it too, but you get to see who produced the records. And what I found was a lot of the records, like let's say Paula Abdul, for those of you who know her, Debbie Gibson, Madonna, and others, were all starting to have songs produced by the same couple of people. And that's when I realized, hey, I want to do what they do. It's not Madonna that makes the music so great. She is a talented artist and a brilliant businesswoman, in my opinion, but it's not that. It's the producers that are making this stuff happen. So I was drawn to that. And I found myself not just liking the music on the radio, but I would buy a lot of what they call 12-inch singles of records where they have different versions of songs. I was always interested to hear different renditions of the same music that we're all hearing. So anything popular was always my thing. Even later in life, I worked at the popular radio stations and always played the popular music. Same stuff that you would hear any other DJ playing on any Saturday night in any local bar,
Right. So when did you get your DJ start? I mean, as far as being a professional.
So I appreciate you asking that too, because that's a great story that I haven't told yet on YouTube at all. So I really appreciate this. This is a much different beginning to an interview that I'm used to. So I wondered if it would be a surprise. So I was working in a toy store when I was 18 years old. We had a store called Toy City. It was a competitor for Toys R Us. And literally, you just walk in and it's all toys in the whole store. So I was just working there, stocking shelves and doing things that we do in retail, right? And I had a best friend at the time, a guy who we were hanging around every day. We'd have our lunches together, breaks together, work the same shifts and all this. And one day I was having a conversation. I said, "What are we going to do after? What are you going to do? Like, what do you mean?" Is kind of what he said to me. I said, "Well, we're not going to work in a toy store for the rest of our lives. So what's your next move?" And he said, "I'm going to be a reggae DJ." And I was like, "Wow, that's really, really cool. Oh my gosh, I would love to be a DJ. That would be like the perfect thing." So he said to me, "Why don't you go buy yourself some turntables and be a DJ?" And I said, "Well, can you do that? Is it that simple? You don't have to go to school or anything?" So literally with the next paycheck, I went out, bought myself a couple of turntables, a mixer, and from that day I was a DJ. So I started with some other people that I had known, DJing a lot of banquets and house parties and small get-togethers and things like that. And later on, eventually ended up working for a mail-order record company, which led to jobs in the radio stations, and it went on from there, nightclubs and things like that.
Now, working at the Canadian radio stations, your stations are different than ours because your stations are required to play mostly Canadian artists, are you not?
That's right. So when I started, and this is in around 1994 in the radio, we are all under restriction. We used to have to play 30% Canadian content. So what that means is that 30% of the music that we play must be made by Canadian artists. Now they have rules. So a lot of people will know that Drake or Nelly Furtado or Justin Bieber are Canadian artists, but there's specific rules where, let's say a Canadian artist is produced by American or other producers around the world. Depending on certain circumstances, which are way too detailed to go into in a talk like this, they can determine whether a certain percentage of that music production is counted as Canadian. And then therefore you're allowed to play it or not play it, and have it count towards your Canadian content. As I was there, a few years later, they upped that requirement. Now stations are required to play 35% Canadian. And when I had started, it was a magical time because there was no pop music on FM radio in Toronto. I worked at the first station that started playing popular music. We had a couple of independents that tried for a little while, but I worked at one of the major radio stations that kind of broke that mold, right? Now we have many. We have, there's 10, 15 stations that are all playing popular music. So we...
What year was that?
1994 was when I started. And there was a couple stations that started right before to give it a try, but they were more like dance music and nightclub focused, not so much just a pop top 40, whatever's on Billboard radio station, right? So this one started, it was called Hot 103 at the time. It's still there today, called Z103. I worked for them about 8 years, and then I moved on to others. But that restriction means that when you're listening to a Canadian radio station, they have to play some of the same stuff, pardon me, over and over and over again. So we hear Drake every hour. We hear Justin Bieber every hour, and any other popular ones, right?
Yeah, your FM is like ours. I mean, when I grew up in the 70s, listening to rock stations. In fact, even today, I just can't stand listening to Led Zeppelin. I'm so burned out on them. It's all I heard growing up. I just can't stand them. And it's not they're a bad band, but I just heard them so much.
It makes sense. I understand what you mean.
Actually, I have not listened to any commercial radio station now for about 20 years. I listen to talk radio, but I don't listen to commercial stations. But I do like. I mean, what were some of your favorite artists though? Did you ever get to meet anybody you played?
I met a lot of artists through the nightclubs and radio stations that I worked at, but they were all smaller artists that weren't necessarily so popular, especially at the time. So a lot of one-hit wonders. I can't even think of a name that would be something that anybody would recognize because they were here today, gone tomorrow. But a lot of different artists, but not, I never met like the Britney Spears or the Backstreet Boys or, anything like that. We wouldn't have had groups like Led Zeppelin or AC/DC or Def Leppard coming through, because our radio stations didn't play those. They were played on classic rock radio stations or modern rock stations and things like that. But yeah, nothing spectacular to speak of, to be honest with you. Lots of performers, but not any real Billboard stars.
So let's move up a little bit from 94 to about 99 or so. So that's the dawn of the internet. So what was your first experience with the internet?
So I was actually on a little bit earlier than that. So I believe High Speed came out in Toronto around 1995 or 1996, and I was one of the first ones on. So what happened was, I had not been on computers for a long time. When I was about 10 years old, I used to have a couple of my dad's friends, older guys, and they were into computers, and they'd get me into programming and stuff, and I thought it was the coolest thing. But I left that stuff behind for music. Then when I started working in the radio, when computers started to become a very essential part of our lives, I started to get back into needing to use computers. And so when the internet came, up as a popular thing that was going to be had by everybody, I was somewhat there at the beginning. Not the first, but among the first, let's say. So when websites came out, I was absolutely fascinated and started developing websites. So I would always work. It's not that I'm a workaholic. Even to this day, I love the stuff that I do. So I tend to work like 16 hours a day. I always have 2 full-time jobs. I've always have, right? So at the time, I would work full-time on doing websites for clients, for myself as self-employed, let's say. And then I'd do my nightclub and radio gigs aside from that, right?
Right.
So that was my first experience. So I was there for the beginnings of social media and websites and email when it started getting popular and things like that. Windows 95 coming out was a very exciting time for me, for instance. As the internet started to really kick in, I think around 1998 was when websites started to really pick up. And then we saw, the boom in 99 and 2000, right?
Right. Yeah, that's about right. Remember the AOL used to have all those free discs at the 7-Eleven, at the different convenience stores?
Yeah.
That's I remember.
Oh, yeah. And then they used to pay you if you wanted to run an ad on the bottom of your web browser. So you could get free internet if you're willing to run ads and willing to watch them or click on them. That was an interesting time as well. It's interesting to see all the different changes we've had in the internet, right?
It has been. Now AOL has pretty much just become a forgotten bygone. I mean,
seems like it.
Yeah, they were like pioneers, and it's funny, they were like pioneers, but they never adapted, and they just got left behind.
It was interesting. Even Yahoo is not itself anymore, right? That was the other big kind of search engine. I was on CompuServe at first when it started, and I had AOL after, because the problem is I wanted to have everything. I wanted to be everywhere. Right. I've always been, I don't like to think of it as addicted, although it absolutely could be, but I really do love this stuff. And it's almost like when it comes to anything online or anything computer and marketing related, aside from music, that's where I was meant to be. So that's why the stuff that we do now, YouTube being a social network, is where I ended up landing for the last several years.
Now, when did you just, we saw it early in the early 2000s, where we could see where it's going to go as far as music and the internet, where it's going to go. How early did you see it? Where did you see the bands being online, being, basically because of the internet? I mean, commercial radio stations, more than anything, I mean, even today, they sort of got edged out a little bit. I mean, radio stations are not profitable, very profitable anymore.
So it's interesting that you put it that way, and I think you're absolutely right. So when I worked there in a radio station, let's say in a big radio station, you would have a music director and an assistant music director, both not on the air. You'd have a program director and an assistant program director, both not on the air. You'd have a production manager and multiple producers. Now you usually have one person doing all of those jobs, and being on the air for 5 different stations. So
Yeah.
it's different. When I moved to Niagara, or close to Niagara Falls 5 years ago, I literally walked in the door in their popular radio station and say, "Hey, guess what? I'm Kevin Kaye. I'm here. I'm ready to work." And they were like, "Listen, bud, we got nothing for you, man. The world is different here than you grew up with." And the guy literally explained. He said, "Look, I'm the music director, program director for 5 different stations. We do not have 15 positions here to just put somebody in." And I was really wowed. But you did ask, like, where did I see that? So I am a bad predictor of the future for some reason. I don't know what that is. There's a lot of things, even with, what we've gone through in the state of the world over the last year. I've been wrong about a lot of things. When it comes to marketing, I seem to do a great job, but when it comes to predicting, I don't do well at all. And one of the things that I noticed, I did work for a record label during my radio days around 2000. The day that Napster hit the front page because they were going to be sued by everybody, the
Yeah.
people in the record label that I was working at, it was a small record label, about 10 of us working there, and they were literally almost jumping, dancing around the office. They were like, "Oh, this is amazing." And what I said to everybody at the time is, I said, "You guys don't understand what just happened. Everybody who didn't already know about stealing music online just learned about it today. You're not going to make any money for 10 years. And I knew right away that the world was going to go from, instead of buying albums for artists, to paying $1 a song and only buying the songs that you want. You don't have to spend $24 on Rihanna's new album. You could just, for $3, buy the 3 songs that you like and then move on to another artist. That happened for a little while, but I did not expect what happened with Spotify and iTunes and all these other things, where now we just pay $15 a month and you basically have access to every song as long as you keep paying. So the days of owning music are almost finished. You know what I mean? And I absolutely don't care about that. I don't care whether I own music or have to rent it. It doesn't matter to me. I happen to still buy vinyl records, but it has nothing to do with that. And I do, everybody still has some music in their collection. I'm sure lots of people have tapes, CDs, records, or things you've bought from iTunes and this and that. Hopefully you still own that or have access to it. But I don't know why anybody wouldn't just get a Spotify account and just pay $15 a month for the rest of your life to have everything.
I'll tell you, I have a small secret for you. I got about 1,200 CDs still.
Okay.
And I'm probably about 35 to 40% of them are with artists I worked with back when I was in music in California. So I still got all those for memories, but I still listen to Spotify. I mean, I have a Spotify account, and I listen to when I do writing, I put up a music score, to listen to it. But I think music has come by 360. Back in the 60s or the 50s, remember they used to go on buses and tour everywhere, and they used to tour on that one single. They load up like 10 acts in there, high school, and play, and that's what they do. They get up there and do their one song, get on, and basically it's really what is back here. It's like now people can buy just that one song that they like, and they don't have to worry about paying for the record.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no longer albums being sold. You're right. Now it's like a single.
It's different. I think they're still putting things out. I don't watch anymore the way I used to, because I'm not involved in that and don't expect to be anymore. I've been out of the music game as far as radio and nightclubs for almost 10 years now already. It's hard to believe, but it's been that long. I hung up the headphones a while ago. So now music takes a different role in my life. I'll probably always be involved in music somehow, but not the music industry as we know it, and certainly not radio as we knew it.
Yeah, we knew it. So let's slide over to, you said your marketing. So what came first for you? What was your first website that you marketed, or what was the first thing you marketed for yourself?
So I would do my own websites. I don't even remember now, because I'd have a million ideas, right? And it's so easy to just put a website up, try an idea, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. I have probably done 100 websites for ideas that I have, 99 of which never went anywhere, but I just love doing the websites. But as soon as I did a couple, people started to notice. And of course, the question is, hey, can you do that for me? And I was
Right.
very lucky because I'd already had a reputation with the music people and the radio people. So what happened in the radio station is some of the sales reps would get asked by their clients, hey, do you have somebody who could do a website for us? Now, because I'm there, they're like, oh, hey, I got this guy, Kevin Kaye. Let me introduce him. So I started picking up clients. And I was just very lucky because I got a couple of great ones right out of the gate, and they started referring me to more and referring to me to more. And because there was so few website developers at the time, and every company needs a website, it was so easy for me to be busy all the time. But as time went on, what you'll find is, like, especially DJs, but a lot of people who are interested in, let's say, promoting themselves or being online, like heavily into social networks and stuff. Now everybody does websites. That's why I barely do them anymore, right? Actually, I really don't. I do websites for myself. I don't do websites for anybody anymore because everybody's got a nephew that does websites. And the truth is, I'd have to charge somebody thousands of dollars to do the most basic website and get that done for a couple $100. So that changed as well. And websites, most people could do them, themselves, sometimes even for free. You can hop on Wix or something else. You can fire a website together. If you can make a Facebook page, you could develop a website. I'm not saying it's going to be great, but it's going to do the job. And as it is, well, right now, I don't think people are watching a lot, like looking at websites as much as the social media pages anyway.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that. Now, were you able to sell any of your website's names?
Oh, nothing like that. I had, see, one of the things I don't want to do, not that there's anything wrong with it, but I never want to take advantage of anybody. Just because somebody's willing to pay for something doesn't mean I want to sell it to them, right? If I think that, of course I think I know what's best for everybody, but I'm just saying I don't want to ever take advantage. I had somebody call me once about one of the names and said, hey, are you going to do anything with this? Because I want to buy it from you. And I said to the guy, well, I really don't know. It probably wasn't going to be a fortune that they were going to pay. It wasn't a great idea. It was like to do a city guide of a local town next to the town that I lived in or whatever. So really a useless name across the world, but just something that meant something to me and this other person. They offered not a price, but just to say, would you consider it? And I said, I'll tell you what, I haven't done anything with it yet. It's going to expire in like 6 months. If I don't do anything with it by then, you can have it. You know what I mean? Good for you if you go and make all kinds of money with it and everything else. But, what were they ever going to offer? $100, $1,000, something like that? Not that it wouldn't.
It all depends how popular it was. I mean, if you're drawing traffic to it and
Yeah, see,
demand, I mean, I've seen people do that. I mean, there's some people that will do, that's what they'll do. They'll take the URL, the web name, and then they hold it hostage. And I know that some people don't like doing that.
no, lots of people did that. I had a bunch of friends. I wasn't around one day, and these guys all got drunk and started buying a bunch of names, and they would buy like Molson sucks and Labatt sucks and Ford sucks and everything. And I was like, what are you guys doing? You wasted hundreds of dollars on names. They're not going to buy the name because they're going to say, please don't tell anybody we suck. Come on, that's not an idea. You're just taking advantage of people. So nothing that I ever did was something that somebody was going to pay a huge amount of money for. And my best success has always been found in, let's say, either teaching a man to fish, or if they absolutely don't want to, then just simply doing it for them. So I never did websites that were something that was going to become something very popular. I did start an online radio station, but that was really just for fun and to show off. Not anything to really make money. But, if somebody had like a limo company or a real estate agent or something, I would do a website for them. But, they pay the money, the website's done, and that's almost the end of it, right? So very small transactions, let's say.
So what appealed to you about it? Was it the creating part about it, or was it the marketing part about it? It had to be one of the two.
It has to be the marketing, right? I think I understood, as a child, if you had asked me at 10 years old, what do you want to do? I would say, I want to own a company. Now, if you'd have gone farther and said, what kind of company do you want to own? I wouldn't have a clue. You know what I mean? It could have, I want to have a lawnmower company, or I want to have a snow shoveling company. I wouldn't know, right? But I just wanted to. And for some reason, I've always been drawn to small businesses, and self-employed people. So this is why YouTube is such a big thing for me right now, because I understand that for a lot of people, $20 a month, $50 a month, $100 a month, $1,000 a month could be life-changing money for people, right? There's lots of people out there that have lots of creative ability, but just don't quite know that one little key that's going to start to make the money really come in and consistently and forever. So now YouTube is a great thing because we're able to do that. I don't have to take anything away from anybody or charge anybody to help them start making a little bit of money, and hopefully eventually that can turn into a lot for them. But it's definitely the marketing aspect of it. So when I saw the idea of computers and websites, I didn't see the idea that every person's going to have one of these, but I did see that every business is going to need this. Every small business is going to need a website, and they're going to want a new one every 5 years. You know what I mean? And so, again, I dealt with electricians, limo companies, DJ companies, real estate agents, paralegals, and all small businesses or self-employed people, because I just seem to gravitate towards them.
Now let's go up a little bit further. Now that you're doing websites, making a little bit of money, enjoy the marketing aspect of it. Tell us about your first encounter with social media.
So if I remember, it would probably be MySpace, but there was a little bit of confusion at the time. So there was Friendster, and I can't remember the other name of the other network, but I signed up for everything I could find right away. And that probably was led to from the AOL and CompuServe stuff, right? It's getting a little bit foggy, the timeline now, but MySpace was the big player. And what happened was I ended up as a DJ. This is a longer story, so forgive me sidetracking here. As a DJ, I ended up, when I quit the radio station in 2002, I ended up working for a guy that I'd known about from the music industry here in Canada, became my agent as a DJ, and started booking me out in the United States. Pretty soon after the first year, we started running our own parties. What we would do is rent out nightclubs and throw parties so that the teenagers could have like a nightclub dancing night, right? But MySpace was the way to get to everybody. So we had this software, which now we avoid like the plague. We don't want it on YouTube or Instagram or anywhere else, but we were able to get the software that lets you add. It's almost like a YouTube sub for sub thing, but it's adding people on MySpace. What would happen is this machine would go out and add like 100 people a day, and 20 to 50 of them would add you back, right? So you built up these profiles. I forget if I had later on, and when Facebook came around, I had like 70 Facebook accounts or something like that. But MySpace was ridiculous. We had tons and tons and tons. So what would happen is, because it was so new and so fresh, everybody responded to every message, to every comment. Everybody wanted to see everything everybody was sending them. It was magical. And so we would throw out these advertisements to say, hey, we're having a party, next Friday. And that like sharing was a brand new thing, because you've never been able to do that before social media, right? When MySpace came out, somebody could put something out, somebody could post something on somebody else's page and this and that, send each other messages, and all of our stuff started to get noticed, and our pile of parties just went wild. So that was the first real encounter, was really MySpace. But I tend to always be drawn to almost every single social network. I just want to see how they work, even if I'm not going to use them. Like, so for instance, Snapchat, of course, I've had forever, but almost never used the thing at all. Even to go into it now, I wouldn't be able to even teach anybody how to use that one, because I just don't use it. Pinterest, I don't use often. I tend to be drawn to the ones that are most popular at the time because of the marketing aspect, right?
Right. Pinterest is a good
I haven't followed up with the stats lately, but Pinterest was known for a very long time as the network where people are most likely to turn from viewers into purchasers. It was 80% women when it started or more, and I think it's evened out a little bit more now. But your best success or your best chance of success for, let's say, putting out a product and having people buy it from what they see online, Pinterest was the thing. And could still be. I haven't, like I said, followed up for a while.
I use it once in a while. I use it once in a while to keep track of stuff that I do. it's a pretty effective tool, I find.
Mhm.
I think the one tool I find that does the least for me, the least amount for me, is Twitter. Twitter has
Yeah.
never did anything for me. It never did anything.
It's interesting. I wonder if we forget the human element, right? So there's all these social networks, and you would wonder, why isn't Instagram everybody's favorite thing? It's just not. You know what I mean? It's the one that's the most popular. Twitter doesn't work for everybody. I've never had a big following on Twitter. I've never had a lot of success personally with
No.
Twitter. Facebook was my thing. And, now YouTube is obviously much more powerful. Instagram is where I'm found most often because Facebook has just seemed to become stagnant, but that's for me. There's other people who swear by Twitter. They use it, they get reaction, they post multiple times a day,
Yeah.
and it's hard to explain why different people work differently on the different networks. But when I tell people as well, when asked, if people say, like, what can I do to market, let's say my videos or other things, which network should I start with? Then I'll say, okay, here's some stats on the different networks, but you really got to start with the one you like. Because if you don't like it, you're probably not going to do it, right? And
Right.
that's a big part of it. So it's interesting that some people are drawn to Twitter, some people are still drawn to Facebook, some people Instagram, and some people Snapchat. And TikTok now obviously is the thing. And I don't do a lot on TikTok either.
So MySpace. I mean, did you stay with MySpace till the end, or did you bail? Did you lead that, and did you join Facebook then?
When Facebook was coming out, we kind of heard about it, right? And we would say, like, hey, there's another network coming, it's Facebook. And I would say, like, this weekend I got to remember to sign up. And you had time back then, so nobody was going to steal your name or try to ruin your identity or anything like that. So we had the time, and I was able to get on. Facebook, MySpace I kept for a while, but the timeline between when one took over from the other is a little bit foggy. But we all know, anybody that was on Facebook in the beginning, or in, I forget what year it was for me, not in the beginning, but let's say a year later, it was just flying. It was so powerful because as soon as anybody would see it, they would instantly be on it all the time. And it just worked like magic for us. We were able to get the same kind of software going where we were able to pump up accounts. So like I said, at one point I had 70 Facebook accounts.
Wow.
And able to pull in all kinds of traffic. This is even before pages and things like that. And then that started to wean away because Facebook got wise to what everybody was doing, and they've locked it up. I don't know how many accounts I have now. I could probably access somewhere between 5 and 10, but I barely even look at them, right? Because I'm so focused on YouTube and other things right now.
I will say this, and I think that people in the chat will agree with this, but for me, what I like about YouTube is I do sense a true sense of community here more than any other platform I've ever been on. I mean,
It,
this has been more community oriented, and I was on MySpace and Facebook and all that other stuff.
it's different here. So MySpace started with people you already knew and then expanded from there, right? But I had a lot of younger friends at the time. When we were running those parties, we would have a lot of people, let's say 10 years younger than me, talking about MySpace, and they were just loving it. I used it as a utility. They were using it as a social network. When Facebook came around, I absolutely used that as a social network. So I have, I don't know if it's 12 or 1,300 people on Facebook now, but 90% of those people I absolutely know and have met either in person or on the phone. YouTube is a little bit of a different story because here a lot of people are hidden behind their channel names or their pages, and a lot of people don't put themselves like on the camera and this and that. So we're forced to go into the comment section or live streams to have conversation. And I think that that's really a big part of it because YouTube starts with people that you don't know at all. My biggest complaint from people when they ask, like, why is life like this, is why are people on YouTube willing to support me so much more than my in real life friends and family? And we got a million stories for how this stuff works. It's absolutely true. So for whatever reason, the type of people who are drawn to use YouTube in that way, there is a lot of community like you're talking about. It really is unbelievably supportive. And I don't find a lot of crossover from the Facebook crowd that I already have either.
Nope. See, I write a blog. See, before I started my YouTube channel, which I still write, I write a blog, and
Mhm.
one of the things is you market your blog. Like you want to share your content with everybody and whatnot, and that's how I found out about Twitter, because I had Twitter. I mean, I was, before I left, I had like 3,000 followers on there. It's like 3,000, but I didn't get anybody going over to my blog. I posted
Yep.
over and over and over, and I didn't get shit for traffic. And it was just like, and then I started really, then the election came up and everything, and I really took a hard look at it. And basically, really, what it was just it was just millions of people all doing this. Look at me, look at me, look at
Yeah.
me. And that's really, to me, it was like, well, then, but everybody's doing that, so they're never going to look at mine. So I bailed from Twitter. Facebook, uh, I still use it, but I pretty much like I pretty much use Instagram and I use YouTube. I do Facebook for promotion now. I mean, and talk to some friends and whatnot. But I use this, and I use Instagram for promotion.
Right.
So how did you come up with the idea of TuberChat? And I already know you already asked this question 10,000 times, but
No, but that I appreciate the idea of talking about it because one of my favorite things to talk about, right? So TuberChat was born from the generosity that I saw in some of the people in the small YouTuber community. So I'd already been on YouTube running channels for other people for a couple of years before I was introduced to the small YouTuber community. Um, More than anything else, it was the Hoops Family Network in particular and Amanda that started introducing me to people like Vern's Junk Closet, Wanston and Leo, and others that are still with me today. And when I saw the generosity in them, I was overwhelmed by how people, instead of saying, like, we don't want to help you, we're saying, come with us, we'll do everything we can to help you. So during that time, I also started to see a lot of growth streams, right? Vern's Junk Closet was doing a lot of, come and I'll look at your channel and we'll help you grow. And then I was introduced to Melda and Amra family and Happy Lux and James Geip and a few others, right? So I had said at the time, you know what, maybe I can do one of these growth streams, but I'm going to put the focus on relationships because I consider myself to be a decent marketer. I understand a lot about the human element, and that is going to be the magic that is going to make mine different, but absolutely work. And what will likely happen is the community will truly become like a family. And that's what we've seen. So in the generosity that I saw in these people, I realized there was enough people willing to help each other that a growth stream in the way that I wanted to do it would absolutely work. And so very luckily, that's what's ended up happening with TuberChat. And you hear it from people all the time. We truly do feel like friends. We truly do feel like family. There's people who laugh together, who cry together. I got friends I talk on the phone to for hours at a time, and then we do things like this. Like, nobody on Twitter asked me if I could come on their Twitter and do a live stream. Nobody on Facebook has asked me to collaborate on anything useful over there. But here on YouTube, how many interviews are we talking about? Just even me personally, we see this stuff happening between creators all the time. We didn't know each other a year ago. Now we do, and hopefully that relationship will continue. And you truly do have people who are as much or more like family than even your in real life family who will never hit the subscribe button, right? They just won't. They're not YouTubers. They're not into this scene. They're doing other things, right? So
yeah, that's a good point. I this is not my first rodeo as far as this goes. I moved this series, this 8 questions with. I actually moved this from my blog. Over there, I had already interviewed over 130 people
wow.
from all over the place. I just saw this as sort of like a natural extension of it. Um, for a while, I was really concerned about doing something like this on YouTube because, like, whereas a website, like you build a website, that's your destination. You're gonna
Mhm.
go. That's where you're gonna go. YouTube, I just felt like you could get washed away because there's millions of accounts on here.
Mm.
Um, and I thought about it and I said, well, I don't want any of these to get washed away. So I stayed print for a long time. This is just an experimentation for me. And it seems
Mhm.
to be working so far. Um, but explain to me what generosity is. I mean, what does that
So
what does that mean? What does the word mean to you?
well, it means a lot of things, let's just say. But for instance, I would roll into. I'll give you a perfect example. Happy Lux is a dear friend now. We talk offline. He runs another growth stream. It's much different than TuberChat because it's fast paced. He's got music playing, a video game going, and it can be really high speed at times, right?
Right.
However, I used to go in there. I've gained hundreds of friends from Happy Lux. He was responsible for me hitting the 1,000 subscribers on my personal channel. And after we slipped below 1,000 on TuberChat for getting it there again. So, as an example, as he became a friend, we just met in a live chat. We met in another growth stream, and we were just drawn to each other, started talking. So, I had asked him one day, for instance, like, hey, when is your next live stream coming up? I want to make sure I'm there. And he says, when do you want me to do one? I'll do one whenever you want so that, I want to help you grow. So if you think about that, I had already said to Happy Lex, I'm going to start a growth stream just like yours. And he says, I'll help you build it, which is insane. Who would do that? In no other place in history have I ever seen people willing to help each other in this way. I know it does happen in the music industry. I haven't really experienced it the same way, but I know it exists in other industries. But here in YouTube, like, Vern's Junk Closet, hey, Kevin, I'll do anything I can to help you. Hoops Family, I'll do anything I can to help you. Wanston and Leo, like I said, have been here since day one. Scratch and Pete PA is in the chat right now. He is with me on every single thing that I do, but we didn't know each other a year and a half ago. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's interesting to see the mentality of people here in YouTube. And like I said, just by basic instinct, you can tell the percentage of people who have this generosity to say, hey, I'm going to put focus on you. You know what I mean? I can tell, like, it's nice that you've done a lot of interviews before, both on YouTube and off earlier. You said on your blog as well. But you've put obviously a lot of thought and consideration into what you're doing here, for which I'm very grateful. But this shows to me generosity in you, in not just saying, like, you could imagine anybody could do an interview and say, like, hey, Kevin, what's your favorite color? Where do you live? Where did you grow up? And stuff like that. But you've put obviously a lot of effort into making this something that will obviously benefit you, but it will benefit me just as much or more because you're exposing me to your audience today. You know what I mean? This interview is probably going to do more for me than it will for you. That shows generosity to me.
Okay. So how did the concept of TuberChat come around? Was it because of what they did for you, or did you like shadow anybody? Did you sit there and say, how do I do a growth stream? And I mean, how do I make this work? How do I get people to actually come in here for me to help them?
Oh, well, for that, so forgive the way I'm going to put this, but I felt like I already knew I'd be able to get everybody as soon as it was coming around because of the history with MySpace, with Facebook, and other things like this with websites. It's one thing to put a website up. It's another thing to get people to go there. So if you think mostly even about the nightclub industry that I was involved in for a long time, the world has really changed. It's a different thing here on YouTube. I used to have to try to convince people when there's 100 nightclubs in Toronto that they've got to come to my nightclub at 7 p.m. And if you don't come this week, you're missing out. It's a very different thing than saying, watch my video, but you don't have to be there for the premiere. You can watch the replay. And even if you want to watch Have Cheetah Will Views video, you can watch theirs before mine or after mine. It doesn't matter. They could still catch everybody. In that kind of an event-based business, it's now or never. And you have to convince people. So that allows me to think that I'll be able to grab people and get them to come. Not to mention because I consider myself to be a generous, loyal, dedicated, friend and family member and person, this and that. I absolutely have everybody's best intention in mind, and I know that I can help other people. One of the things I realized when I was a child is that a manager of, let's say, a sports team or of an artist, like a music artist or something like that, if they can help 10 people go and become millionaires, they will be a millionaire because they're going to take 10 points off of everybody, right? So the mentality is if you help enough people it will continue to grow. It was an experiment. I mean, you can't know for sure that it was going to be the thing, but I had already in the small YouTuber community been able to build a reputation as somebody who's unbelievably supportive. So it almost felt like a natural move. But to be honest with you, 4 years ago when I started on YouTube, what happened was I was working in construction and I never used to watch a lot of YouTube. And one winter, we just started watching it, me and the guy who I work with. And he was somewhat of a performer as well. And I had said, hey, you know what? There's money in this. And, you know, it looks fun. We're performers. We should be able to do this. We should be able to at least be good at this. Let's try. But I knew right away that if that was going to work, I would be teaching this stuff one day. Now, I'm not saying that's what I do right now. I'm saying that is like the mentality that started the trek and the road that I'm on right now, influencing and hopefully eventually teaching as well, because the background of this stuff is what I really love. And I know not everybody loves it. So if I can help everybody to get, like anybody that comes across, to improve their videos, their channels, their audience, more so that they can eventually benefit more and more, it's just natural that they're going to turn around. And when people ask them, how did you become successful? They're going to have to say, TuberChat was a part of it. That way, anybody that new comes in, and we see this every day. TuberChat's becoming overwhelming. You saw the beginning of the chat today was, you know, it's hard for me to even catch up, which is great. I'm very grateful to have that, and we have to do certain things to make sure that the community stays aligned. You know what I mean? What is it going to be like when I have 10,000 subscribers? Now, if you notice, I already expect that I'm going to have that. We don't know when, but I absolutely believe that it's going to happen. TuberChat might be like absolutely crazy. We don't know.
You can still do 4 days, but I think you'll have to incorporate like a different host on a certain day.
We'll have to.
I mean, yeah, because I mean, you sit there and expect to do that sort of, you just burn yourself out. I mean, I see live streams. I'm sorry, I see live streams, and the one thing I notice about doing live streams is, if you do it for any length of time, you really do have to have a co-host. It's very hard to do it consistently by yourself all the time for a long length of time.
There's a lot to it. Now, I really like it. For some reason, I like the high pressure of, like, you know, when people see me having to race through my speeches and trying to keep up with the chat, trying to remember what I'm doing. And I make a lot of mistakes. Everybody sees that. We joke about it, right? You have to laugh at yourself. How many times do I not unmute my mic? I did it today again. I couldn't believe I did that. But I do it all the time because there's so much in the aspect of live streaming where if you're going to be on camera, then you're on. You don't have to be as passionate and high-paced as I am all the time. That's me. That's my personality. It's expected. But you're still on. You know what I mean? If you want to put it that way. And it can be draining. Absolutely.
That was going to lead me to my next question is, walk us through a day of a show. Let's say your Monday is Thursday, so for that week. So walk us through. How do you prepare for your week of TuberChat?
Okay, so with the exception of the fact that I already set up the live streams on Monday for the next Friday, that only takes a few seconds. Streamlabs is what I use, and you're able to schedule those pretty quick. I schedule them in the background. And then they're ready. I can fulfill the descriptions, tags, and thumbnails and things like that after. So I try to do that before Monday. But then when we get around to, let's say, Friday, so I wake up 9 o'clock in the morning, I put out the social media posts. So I start with the community tab. I start with Reddit, and then I move on to Twitter and Facebook. And I've done tutorials on Twitter and Instagram to show everybody exactly how I share on those. That's absolutely what I do every time. Instagram's a little bit more of a beast because I have to make a specific graphic. I have to change the channel on that every time. I did make a mistake once. I don't know if I made a mistake more than once, but I did make a mistake once. But that stuff probably takes, if I really sit and concentrate, I can do it in 15 minutes. If not, let's just say half an hour, right? Between fooling around and making sure you didn't forget anything and things like that. So I do that. I have a look at the statistics that I use from a robot called Botissimo to make sure that I've cleaned that out from the last live stream. to make sure that I'm fresh and ready. The robots are going to run. I make sure if I've got any members that I need to take care of, like for instance, we drop links in the chat for our members, the gold members. I have to make sure they're added into Nightbot if they haven't been. Our silver members get slides on every show. I have to make sure those are there. Some members drop off, some come and some go. Sometimes you'll find, for anybody that hasn't already had to deal with memberships, what happens is sometimes people give you a membership instead of a super chat because they understand that the host gets so much more excited. You get so much more value out of the idea, even if it's the same $5 or $10 or whatever. And then as well, so you got to make sure you're taking care of everybody. So I want to make sure I'm always fulfilling the promises that I make with the memberships. And then I go a little bit further. So if you notice on a TuberChat screen, you have little squares at the bottom. I have to make sure that every member and every moderator gets a slide on those bottom corners of the screen. Now, I don't say that. I don't tell everybody if you get a membership, I'll do that for you. It's something extra that I do. I look at my memberships a little bit reversed from what we might think. Instead of saying, if you get a membership, I will do this for you, I look at it more of, if you are willing to get a membership, I am so thankful that I will do the following things, and then I go over and above where I can, right? I set up my community posts in advance, so I share 6 to 8 times a day. One or two of those posts are for me or the music channel, and the rest are for either members or super chatters or supporters, people who've had impact, people who have done things that are, let's say, over and above in the TuberChat community that I've seen. I get those all in advance. Almost every day I run a playlist. So what I'll do is I'll go through my statistics from the robots, and I'll make a playlist of, let's say, 25 different videos from different creators, and I will have that running on the side of the screen. That could be at day or night, you know. And then when it's time to set up for TuberChat, it's as simple as getting my green screen together and just making sure that everything's plugged in, everything's turned on, reset the internet, shut the computer down and restart it to make it fresh and things like that. So I do a lot more busy work, like looking at analytics and playing around with social media stuff than is necessary, but that's just out of hobby more than anything else.
Now, I noticed the membership thing. I was going to ask you about that. Now, what is that like the YouTube version of Patreon?
Similar, yeah. So people make a monthly commitment to support you, and almost anybody that's monetized can have that available, right? So okay. It's a monthly fee. YouTube takes 30% of what comes in, and you do pay taxes on the rest. It's income tax. Now, lately, what's happened is they've done this sweep where everybody will be paying income tax to the U.S. government for any money that's brought in from U.S. People on YouTube, right? For instance. So that applies to super chats as well. But in the case of memberships, people are making a monthly commitment, let's just say, to pay whatever amount of money you've decided. On TuberChat, I have a $5 membership, $10 membership, $5 membership, $15 membership, and $30 membership in Canadian dollars. Now that changes. So if you're in the United States, the amounts might be different, but they work out to about the same. YouTube keeps changing them based on exchange rates as time goes on. And then what happens is every month somebody's credit card or PayPal or whatever will be charged in the same way that Patreon does. And then you just have to make sure you're fulfilling your obligations when you say to people you're going to do specific things. Like, so for instance, on TuberChat, I don't do a members only live stream, but you could. But if you're going to commit to that for people and have them pay, you want to make sure you're going to be able to do it. You know what I mean? So,
and they're going to want to be entertained.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, okay. So, well, I was going to ask you, what do you have to do extra for a member? I mean, like, what kind of perks do you have to give? So, like Patreon, I know people pay into Patreon, and then the creator uses that money to basically maybe upgrade equipment, or in my community, which I'm in the horror figures community or comic books community, they go out and buy products and show. I mean, sort of, I don't know how that, I don't understand that myself. Giving money away to somebody else so they can buy something to show you, but that's how it works, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, but how is it different for you? I mean, do you use the money to improve? How do you make it to improve your channel
So
or your
it's
product?
Well, it's different. So every creator is going to do whatever they want with their money. Once you've got it, like basically it's yours, right? So you got to pay tax on it. So please remember that. And I'm not a tax professional, so it's different for you in your country, wherever you are, to think about how that gets done.
30% away.
Google takes 30% before you pay taxes. Yes. And as a matter of fact, what a lot of people may not know is that Apple, if you are on an Apple device and you give a super chat, you can't get memberships on an Apple device for this reason. Apple takes 30% before Google takes 30%. So what happens is if somebody gives you a super chat, you'll notice that super chats come in, instead of saying $5, it'll say like $6.99. That's on an Apple device. And what that means is Apple's going to take the 30% first. YouTube has raised the price for those super chats for that reason. Then Google takes their 30% of what's left. And then you get whatever's left, works out to about 46, 47%, something like that. And then you got to pay tax on that. So it's something to consider. But that's something that a lot of people might be blindsided by, because you might be bringing in memberships and super chats and ads and things like that and say to yourself, wow, this is supposed to be more money, but you got to take into consideration. Now, they spell all this out. They tell us right in advance, like, and we're agreeing to the terms, but that's the way that stuff works. So what everybody does with their money, of course, is going to be their own business. And, whether you've got money coming in the right hand and spending it with the left hand, or if you're putting it back out where it came from, that's another story. We all have equipment to deal with. We all have upgrades. We have hard drives. We have cameras, microphones, headphones, and things can happen, right? First of all, the stuff ages. Secondly, the stuff can break. I can't tell you how many pairs of headphones I've broken in my life, right? And things like that. So, and we want to also be out supporting others. I spend, a decent amount of money, in my opinion, on super chats. I've super chatted hundreds and hundreds of times, right? At different amounts of money.
My card actually quit letting me do it. It won't let me do it because I was donating. I was doing super chats with you. And next thing I know, it's like I was going to go ahead and do it, and then my card just would not let me do it.
There's any number of reasons why things can't happen, right? So for all instance, not everything is available in every country. Memberships and super chats are not available to everybody in every country. There are some countries who've blocked them or banned them because they put the idea of a super chat, or a membership for that matter, in the same category as gambling. Right? If you pay something, something happens. And I'm not saying I'm right. I'm saying that's my interpretation of the mentality behind it. So it's not available to everybody, but credit card companies as well. If you notice, for those of you who've ever done online gambling or any cryptocurrency spending or things like that, you might find that a lot of credit card companies won't allow certain things. It is possible, and I'm not saying I'm right, I'm just saying this is a thought. It might be possible that some credit card companies don't allow themselves to be used for that purpose, and it depends on their regulations and everything else as well. So there's a lot of thought that goes into this stuff.
Yeah, I've just been noticing that more and more about the memberships or whatnot, and I was just wondering how it worked. And
everybody's got to make their own decisions on what to offer with your memberships and super chats and things like that, right? So with memberships, what YouTube gives everybody is the ability on your first level of membership, whether you charge 99 cents or $1 or whatever that works out to in your currency, you get a little bit of bonus in that their name turns green in the chat. So they're noticed, right? And what we find from growth streams is that people will go after members first, super chatters next, or one or the other, moderators next, and then to everybody else. So that's why YouTube puts that value on it. They give you a special badge to show how long you've been a member, just so you can kind of show off or whatever. Nobody gets to control that. It's just there. Now, as a host, you get to change those emojis if you want. So when somebody has their membership with you, you'll notice on TuberChat, I just have these little finger pointy things or whatever. I might change those up, and they change color as time goes on. So people instinctively know whether you're a new member or you've been a paying member for 6 months or 8 months. Like TuberChat got monetized 8 months ago, and I've got a few members who've been there since like 8 months, right? They continue. And as well, you get these emojis that you can use in the chat. If you choose to use them, that's up to the host. You can have custom emojis designed so that people can use them. In TuberChat, I use a lot of social media ones that I ripped off, right? Like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and all this. But then as well, I have like one for playlists and one that says, let's grow, and you see these things. So they're just fun. They're fun little things that people can use to get a little more noticed in the chat, make it a little more fun if you want to look at it that way. And then when you get into other levels, you can start getting into the idea, are you going to give your people gifts? Are you going to give them members only live streams? Are you going to put members only community posts out where you're showing like behind the scenes? So memberships work most effectively, when on TuberChat when people are active in the chat. So I don't solicit ever, absolutely. I say the same thing constantly. Memberships and super chats and things like that are absolutely unnecessary, very much appreciated, right? I always appreciate the support, but I don't ever want people to feel obligated. And because of what TuberChat is, I don't hold anything back from anybody in the chat. Everybody has their chance to be on the wheel. Everybody has the chance to be on the screen. And I just personally don't do members only live streams because I don't want anybody that's not paying to not be able to access the same information everybody else does. Like I said, I look at my memberships as the reverse. I'd like to think of it where people are either giving a super chat or a membership because they've already gotten value out of things that I've helped them with or that TuberChat has.
Anybody here will say that. I mean,
I hope.
Yeah, well, everybody in the chat has benefited from your experience.
Well, hopefully, that's what I wish, right? And I'm not saying I'm right about anything, and I certainly don't like to tell anybody what they should or shouldn't do with their channel. I'm happy to give advice from a level of experience, and I'm very clear with everybody about what I have accomplished and have not accomplished. I have not built a channel to 1 million subscribers. I don't know how to make $50,000 a month yet. I'm not there yet. But I do know how to monetize 5 channels. I do know how to build at least one of those up to 14,000 subscribers, and I do know how to get a channel to the point of making a few $1,000s a month, right? Not TuberChat. I'm saying other channels that I run, for instance, right? And I hope that everybody gets value out of the time that they spend in a TuberChat live stream. If I'm able to help, whether it's with advice or sharing opinion or information or just getting everybody together, because I seem to be able to do that well, then I look at memberships and super chats in a way that hopefully everybody sees it that way, that they're giving that to me as a thank you for what they've already gotten value of, as opposed to, if I get a membership with this guy, am I going to get something out of it? Because I don't ever want to, let's say, for instance, not be able to fulfill a promise or have people under the impression that, let's say I get a membership, am I going to get subscribers? That's not how it works. A membership on TuberChat only works if you're there in the chat. Now, I have a lot of people who are members who don't show up very often right now for many different reasons, I'm sure, but they all probably very clearly understand that just having a membership is not going to draw in subscribers. That's not why they do it. They do it as a part of the community, possibly to thank me or for, any different number of reasons. But you can absolutely do things on your channel when you have memberships available to say, hey, if you're a member, I'll send you something every month or every once in a while, or I'll have games for you. Like Vern's Junk Closet, for instance, I'm a member on her channel. She's a dear, dear friend, of course. She's a member on TuberChat as well. But she does a social media group where she puts all the members in, and they have special games, and she sends out special, things like, hey, everybody, I care about you. I want you to see something that you may not have seen. It doesn't have to be on YouTube, on other things. And that's a really, really cool thing because it's appropriate for her. For TuberChat, I don't do that because I don't want anybody to be excluded from anything because of what TuberChat is. Right? It's a growth stream meant to help everybody. And not everybody can or will be able to do financial support for any number of reasons. Like I said, not everybody has the same amount of money in the world. Not everybody even has it available because it's not available in some countries. Some credit cards, some people don't have PayPal. Like there's a million different reasons. And I am able to make money outside that I don't have to worry about it so much. I'm very happy for the money that comes in, but sorry.
Honestly, Kevin, don't you think most of the people here, though, honestly, I'll ask this to the chat too. And I'm going to open up the chat for questions in about 5 or 6 minutes. I'm sure you guys have some questions. Do you think, for myself, I never even thought about making money off this. I just thought about showing off the cheetah and, showing off some other videos or whatnot. I don't know, I don't know. I don't really get the impression that a lot of it, it's just like a bonus.
So
If it happens, it happens. If it's not, okay.
I'm sure it's a different mentality for different people, right? What I find in the TuberChat community, my guess is that most creators who come through TuberChat are aiming for monetization in some way, shape, or form. Now, I'm just guessing that, but I'm sure I'm right. But I'm just guessing that most creators are eventually looking for monetization. That's why we worry about the 1,000 subscribers and the 4,000 hours of watch time. Now, in my opinion, YouTube works best, and your monetization will be maximized if you're doing what you love for the love of doing it, and the money is secondary. Right? If money is just like, hey, if I make a little bit of money, that's great. If people pay, that's fine. But if you're doing what you love, I really wish everybody would enjoy it because it is work. Even if we love it, I promise you, it's more work than we all think it is to get this stuff to move, right? To get people to come, to get people to watch. And not everybody is in the same mentality where they're out to make money. So TuberChat is not meant to be a money-making channel. That wasn't going to be my big thing. TuberChat is meant so that you and me, and what I mean by you is not just Patrick, but everybody in the chat, everybody who comes through TuberChat, so that we and everybody we care about can start as many channels as they want. And if you want to make money with those channels, that's great. We can all help each other get there as well. So to make a money-making channel is very easy. I'm not saying it's easy for everybody. I'm just saying like the mentality behind it could be easy. If you want to go and review tech products, you can go and do that. Eventually, you'll build up an audience. Eventually, you'll get sponsorships. And if you join the Amazon program, you'll get some affiliate money as well. So making money online is not that difficult. YouTube is the engine, and TuberChat particularly is a motor within that engine that can help everybody accelerate the process. That's the idea, right?
I'm going to mention a good comment here because I feel like a lot with him. Our friend Derek mentions you can tell the people who are pushing to monetize their content as opposed to those looking for an outlet for laughs and giggles.
Yeah,
I don't really. I'll be honest with you. I have really never run across anybody with a bit in their mouth running for that thousand. I mean, like, I'm gonna get monetized. I gotta get monetized. I've always felt like everybody I met, especially in TuberChat, that it's been like, I'll get there when I do, but I'm gonna enjoy the journey as I do.
One of the mentalities.
I think that's a lot of credit goes to you for that.
Well,
because,
I absolutely believe that every single person is unique and every single person has their own reason for being here, right? So it's easy to group people together under like a mentality. So I could say like, oh, well, the TuberChat people are great. Well, okay, you're not really saying much, right? Of course they are. There's tons of great people online. But everybody's got their own reason, and we have to walk a mile in their moccasins to understand their story and stuff like that. So what I like to say to people all the time is, if I was to ask everybody right now, do you have any doubt in your mind that I'm going to have 10,000 subscribers, whether it's on TuberChat or any other channel that I start? Do you have any doubt? Of course you don't, because I don't. The reason why is not because I think I'm great, not because I think I know everything, certainly not that. It's because I decided not to quit before I started. When I started working on YouTube, if you remember what we talked about with the social media, I've been here a long time. When YouTube came around and I saw what was available, I said, I'm going to do YouTube forever. Now, that may change. We don't know what the world's going to look like in 3 years, obviously. So if YouTube is not the thing anymore, then, we can't predict that right now. But my expectation is to be here either for the rest of my life or until YouTube ends. But I started that in the beginning. I didn't start a channel because I wanted to have 1,000 subscribers and then maybe someday 10,000 and maybe someday 20,000. I expected before I started to have 100,000 subscribers one day. Now, million, that's another story because that can take years, right? And for most people, even 100,000 is difficult to see into the future. Even I may not expect to have 100,000 on any one particular channel, but I absolutely do expect to have 100,000 between all of the channels that I will eventually run. If you'll notice, I'm starting a channel per year. So I had my first personal channel. About a year later, I started TuberChat, and about a year later, I've started the music channel. And who knows what will come next? We'll see. Maybe that will be the thing, maybe it won't. But everybody's got a different reason for being here. And monetization, I just think, is in most people's future if they're drawn to something like TuberChat. If somebody comes and sees what we're doing and doesn't like it, that may not be the case. And for viewers on YouTube, absolutely not. There are barely 0.1% of people will ever even start a channel. There's lots of viewers on YouTube, but TuberChat itself is a different beast because it is 100% creators. Every person who comes to TuberChat and stays has a channel. I have no supporters. I have only creators who are also supporters, right? So it's
Right.
a very different animal when we're talking about that specific channel.
I like how you said that because I know for a fact there's a lot of followers that they feel because they haven't got content up, they feel like they're on the outside. I don't feel that way at all. I feel anybody that comes in as anybody at least a comment on my channel, whether they have content or not, is a creator because they just got done creating a dialogue with me about my content. And is that not a creator? Is that not what we do?
That's a great way to put it. So again, YouTube, whether we want to call it like this way or not, I absolutely believe that YouTube is a social network. It's the same as Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, Pinterest, and all of them. There is a community aspect to all of this. And yes, when somebody is creating anything at all, even if it's a comment, even if they leave one dot as a comment, that is creating a piece of content on the network, right? So you can look at it that way. Now, again, everybody's different. Everybody's got a different mentality. And I don't expect people to put, let's say, consider themselves supporters or creators or, any other word you could possibly use. Even though we use those words, there are a lot of people who are doing a lot of both. You'll see a lot of people who create a little bit of content. You'll see people who make one video and never make another one. And you'll see people who make 5 videos a day or 50 or 100, like any number. So it's, millions. Now we're talking about 1 billion or 2 billion monthly active users or whatever it is. Every single person has their own unique personality that we can't really tap into and understand why every single person is here and why they do what they do. But there's a mix of everything in between as well, right?
Right. Let's see if there's any comments here.
Forgive me, I've missed so much, and I don't mean to do that. It's
not at all. We just, like you mentioned on Michelle's channel. I mean, you and I have known each other well enough to this is more like a discussion.
Absolutely, yes. Yeah.
That's also good. It makes it a lot more fun, more relaxing. Though I don't mind the interview format, but I knew it was going to be like this.
Yeah. So forgive me. I do want to cut into something because I know we've missed some questions about taxes, right? So again, forgive the way I disclaim this. I'm not a tax professional. I'm not an attorney or anything like that. You have to look at the terms, conditions. You could consult a tax attorney or a tax accountant or something like that to really understand. But everybody comes from different countries and different states and different provinces and everything else. So our rules and regulations and how we deal with everything is very different. So when we talk about self-employed, independent contractors, small businesses or being employees, we are absolutely not employees of YouTube. But how you are considered compared to your government and the way you're going to have to pay taxes and those consequences is independent of where you're from. It can even come down to your municipality, I believe. Again, I'm not a professional, I'm just saying. So it's something to consider when you're going to make money anywhere at all, but including on YouTube. There is a lot of implication, including taxes, that we have to consider. For most people, I believe that you will have to pay income tax on the money that comes in from your YouTube ventures. That may, in some cases, allow you to write things off. Some of you saw yesterday that I spent an unreasonable amount of money at the record store buying records for a video that I will eventually make. What that will allow is I will be able to what they call write off those expenses. Now, it still costs money out of pocket. It's just that my tax implications will be a tiny sliver better than they were. I'll save a few dollars on taxes because I've actually spent money that I'm using for the purpose of going out to make more money. In the Canadian government, they allow that as, you know, either an independent contractor or I consider myself a self-employed person. I'm able to do that. Things are different for all of us, but I don't have a proper answer for everybody because we have so many different consequences to deal with based on our countries, our provinces, our states, and our cities, that you're going to have to look into that for yourself, how you can be considered, and then what kind of benefits you can go and use compared to those tax consequences, for instance, if that makes sense.
Yeah, you know, because one of my friends in here, Hobbs Horror, he just passed 1,000. He passed 1,000 this week.
Very, very good.
Yes, and you know what? I have to tell this story because this was totally you, Kevin.
Yeah.
So my friend Hobbs, you know, he's like my brother, and he's the host of our live stream on Sundays, the midnight hour. So he's been trying to get to 1,000 for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So finally, I just got really irritated with this, and you know what? I'm going to marathon this guy past 1,000. So I called up for all the help I could get.
Yeah.
So just a ton of people came out there, and we pushed them. But thinking about what you said, you know, the algorithm, I said we got to push him not 2,000, but we got to push him past it. So let's push him past it. Let's get him at least 10 pass. Well, we did. We got him 10 pass. We got the 1,010 because I knew that YouTube was going to come by and snatch some of them. They got him for 8.
Oh, wow.
So he stayed over 1,000.
So that's great. That's great news, because usually when we go aggressively like that, back in the day, you could do that, right? Like when on my personal channel, when I hit 1,000 subscribers, I was in Happy Luck's live stream. A couple of people took the whole time they were there to work on my channel and got me over 70 subscribers in an hour and a half. And they stuck, right? Now, most of those subscribers never came back to watch videos or anything like that, but that's another story in itself, right? We live and we learn, but the game is different today. So if you're able to do that, that's great. I don't typically do, like, I hope nobody ever like asked me, why don't you do marathons? And it's a different way than you're using the word here, but like on TuberChat, I could certainly grab a channel and say they've got 950, let's push them all the way. But I just don't think that that's going to have the benefit for them that we really wish. That's not what TuberChat was meant for. If you're able to get genuine support for somebody in the way that you're talking about, that's fantastic. So
yeah, it was all from people who really wanted to help. You know, that was what they were there for. You know, we've been sitting there watching our buddy waiting, and then we just said, hey, let's get him past it. Let's push it. So we did, and I said we got to push it past because YouTube will come by. They will come back for what's theirs, and it did. But he still made it over. So now I know that 1,000 is not. It's not. I mean, everybody thinks 1,000 is the magic number for monetization, right? But it's not. There's more involved in it, right?
Yeah, well, there is, right? Like, so 1,000 is the magic number that we look for, because that's how you cross that marker from not being monetized to being monetized, right? From making $0 a month to making some number of dollars a month. So we put a lot of focus on it, but YouTube caused that a couple of years ago, And that's where the growth streams all started coming from. They were there for a year before I even started doing it, maybe even longer. But that's what caused that stuff. If you don't mind, I just want to address something. Horror with Haas was mentioning, like, it seems like using PayPal or Patreon ensures that a creator gets the amount that the viewer intends for them to get. Would you agree? So in most cases, yeah, there's lots of services like PayPal, Patreon, Buy Me a Coffee, and this and that. Now, I've heard a lot of stories where creators have had their PayPal shut down because of, it's usually malicious behavior. It's usually when somebody like gets upset because they're e-begging, if you want to call it that, and then therefore goes and reports their profile and this and that. So that's a thought. But there's a lot of other services where people are able to give you a monthly amount of money or even a one-shot deal. And yes, you will get out of it more money than you will with a Super Chat or membership because of the way that YouTube and Google is designed. But you have to beware that YouTube is designed as a free service for us. And they're like, listen, we found a way to make money. You don't have to pay us to be a YouTuber. You could come and use YouTube for free, and you can even make money for free. You never have to give us a cent. But we are going to take a little bit of money because to keep this platform running, we have to pay our expenses. Now, everybody can have their own opinion as to whether it's too much and this and that. I'm not here for that. But you can go to other services and say, like, hey, instead of getting a membership with me here, use PayPal. And I've seen people do that. I choose not to because I figure TuberChat is way too marked in the algorithm. I don't want eyes on me any more than they probably already are. And I'm fine to use YouTube the way it is because most of the people who I imagine will come through the TuberChat system will end up using YouTube itself and will probably never use Patreon or PayPal. But you could. You just want to be careful about how you address it, how you word it, and how you solicit things like memberships and having people pay and super chats and everything else, because it can be frowned upon not only by people watching, but also by YouTube itself. So it's just something to be aware of. That's all.
You know what? I'm gonna open this up for questions. Everybody out, the room is open for questions. Any questions that you have, Kevin's gonna answer them for 20 minutes. All right?
Yeah, Kevin? About half an hour. If you don't, yeah, if we can cap it at half an hour, we're good. But I'm happy to stay as long as everybody wants, right?
Yeah, let's go open up the floor for questions. I think we need to do that. So if you have questions for Kevin or comments, I mean, start dropping them.
And forgive us for anything that we've missed. If anybody's mentioned a question that you wanted us to see and we missed it, we weren't really watching the chat so much as we are now. So I'll appreciate it, and just please forgive us and be patient, and I appreciate that. For anybody who doesn't know, I'm just going to plug the fact that Makeup Mom and Son, who's in the chat with us right now, I did an interview which was much different than what we're doing today, but touches on a lot of YouTube stuff as well. So she's here supporting us right now for this, but I also did another interview with her. So I'm happy to do these things, and I'm really happy to have been asked. Have Cheetah Will View is a creator that is extremely supportive, not only in the TuberChat community, which we've put a lot of focus on today, but also on my personal channel, right? So this is somebody who has been supportive in many different ways and who I have seen supporting others. For instance, in the story you just told, I did see you, yes, like trying to help, say, hey, we've got somebody that we want to get to 1,000. Can everybody, start helping out? And I think that's really, really cool.
I'm going to go with the first question I see here. Or a comment. Hobbs mentions, for me, it's not a monetary thing. I work full time. I just want to get better at content and give people a great product and help others while being drama free. So I guess that would be a good thing for a channel. What are some of the things that channels should try to? Did we freeze? Or did we? Okay, I thought maybe we froze. So what are the best ways you can? What are some of the pitfalls that you would tell creators to avoid in running a channel?
So when we talk about the idea of drama, for instance, right? So the truth is, my belief is that you have to disassociate yourself from it, but you also have to be very clear as to whether you actually don't like it or you do. Because we all would like to say, I don't like drama and I don't want it around me. But, you know, I like watching reality TV shows where they're all screaming at each other and everything else. I absolutely am. I don't watch a lot. I'm just saying when they get at each other, I do find it as entertaining as anybody does.
Oh my,
This is why they're so wildly popular. So while everybody in the world might say I'm not into drama, well, we'll see. Like, time will tell, right? So you got to be aware of that. Now, trolling and things that start that stuff are inevitable almost for every creator. So I don't want to get negative or like stop the conversation from being positive. But if you don't have a hater by the time you hit 1,000 subscribers, it's coming by the time you hit 2. Has nothing to do with you. It's just the way the math works. It's just the way the world works. So if you can ignore it, and I know it can be hard for anybody that's had to go through a bit of that. It could be really, really tough, right? But if you can ignore it, I find that it always passes, right? Hopefully that's the case for everybody all the time. But you know, pitfalls. Michelle asked the same question yesterday, something about like hurdles that you have to overcome or pitfalls and things like that. And I've been lucky because I haven't really seen many. More what I have is advice for how to grow as opposed to how to make mistakes. If you're putting out one piece of quality content per week, and it's not up to me or Patrick or anybody else to decide what quality is for you, it's up to you. If you can do just that, that's enough to make your channel grow. You will get views, you will get subs over time, some faster than others, but that's enough. Now, the magical part of all this is by supporting other creators. So if you want a channel that's surrounded by positivity, then you go out and you spread positivity to everybody as well. A lot of the things that I say online are very generic, and I don't mean to do that. It's not that I don't mean what I say, but when people have, let's say on Instagram, a milestone that says they've hit 1,000 subscribers or, you know, 3,000 watch hours or whatever it's going to be, I will say, keep up the great work and put a little like smiley emoji or something else. And you'll see me do that 100 times, right? 1,000 times. It's not that I don't mean it. Of course I mean it, but I'm just saying the same thing over and over and over again because all of my community are hitting milestones all of the time, right? If you want to be surrounded by positivity, then you give out positivity. And I know that what I'm saying sounds idealistic, but I absolutely believe that if you give wholeheartedly more than you expect to receive, it will come back. But I also believe that you will get back what you put out. So when you word yourself negatively, and it's very possible to do that, you really have to think about the things that you're writing. You will get back what you put out there. And I believe that if you're generous either way, negative or positive, it will come back 10 times. So you just have to prepare yourself for that.
Yeah, Derek, we commented earlier about that. Believe it or not, Derek, you are a creator. I've always sensed that, even though he doesn't put any videos up. I do think that anybody that comes by a channel and leaves a comment, a positive comment, is a creator because you're creating dialogue. Yep. You're creating a good vibe, a good energy on the channel. That's a creator to me.
It's an interesting way to put it. One of the most popular marketers that's out there right now, Gary Vaynerchuk, is a very popular influencer, and he talks about the idea of putting out content. Content is anything at all that you're going to put out into the world. So don't forget that the internet is written in ink. Even if you delete a message after you've written it, it's on the servers. We have copies of it, right? Right. And things like that. So that's something to think about. But when you are out there creating anything, if you're putting a comment, whether it's good or bad, whether it's long or short, it's creating something and contributing to the network.
Let's see. We've got some positive comments back in the chat. Let's see if there's any questions up here. Okay, here's one. Waffles asked a question. He says, how do you suggest growing a horror movie channel? So how do you, instead of horror movie, let's go with a genre. So how do you grow? What's the best way of growing a particular channel? I personally feel is that you can't stay within your community. If you just stay within the horror community, you're never going to grow that much. I think you have to get out to other communities to draw them into your content.
So absolutely, you're right. I would do a balance of both. So if you're growing, like no matter the genre, right? There are other people doing something similar to what you're doing, right? It's almost impossible to come up with a unique idea. But if you're in a specific niche, like for instance, horror movies is a very specific niche. Not just movie lovers, not just horror lovers, but horror movie lovers, right? Then there are lots of other channels that are in that genre. You can get to know those creators. And basically, as long as you do for them what you wish everybody would do for you, you will see it come back 100%. You will get yourself, if you want to be noticed from the comments that you leave, then leave a noticeable comment. If you want people to leave comments that are 3, 4, 5 sentences long for you, go leave comments that are 3, 4, 5 sentences long for them or more, right? You may have to put out 3 to get back 1. But here's the thing, you know that already, right? We're telling, if you didn't know now, we're telling you now that that's the way that, everything works. You must be willing to give much more than you expect to receive. But I promise you, over time, the support you get back, if you do that, will be so overwhelming that you will have an impossible time trying to keep up with everybody afterwards. But for any niche, for any genre, one quality piece of content per week, and it's up to you what that quality is, and then go out and support other creators both in that genre and, for instance, you could go outside of the genre. So now I'm just going to do a shameless plug, but this is where TuberChat comes in as a great resource because we support each other as creators regardless of the niche. I follow lottery scratching channels, I follow horror channels, I follow paranormal channels, a lot of makeup channels, family vlogs, live streamers, growth stream, like anything you can imagine, I follow, right? And it's more about the creator for me, and for everybody in our community, that seems to be the mentality for the most part, is that we're here for the creators, not just the niche. So by following people in your niche and doing for them, you will get noticed and known in your niche as an influencer. But by going outside, you may introduce other people to your niche, and you'll end up spreading them out to everybody else in your niche as well, the other creators that you've aligned with, and expand the audience that comes in. I would have never searched for anything paranormal. I probably didn't even know what the word meant before we started TuberChat. But now we have so many paranormal channels within the community. Now I enjoy seeing them. I've even gone out on my first paranormal investigation with another creator as a collaboration where I never would have otherwise done that. So it's very, very cool. But that's an idea. Supporting people in your niche and then expanding out to draw people in is a great idea as well. Not just for yourself, but to make horror movie fans out of people who are not already horror movie fans, right?
Right. Because I mean, I myself, even though my channel is, even though I do a horror film streamcast, right, on the midnight hour on Sundays, and it's horror centric. It's aimed for the horror community. I myself, I see myself as more than that, which is why one of the reasons why I brought this interview, this series to my channel, is because I like doing something different. I don't want to be pegged as just one genre because I'm not. I mean,
Right.
I like horror, and I enjoy talking about it tremendously, but I also like talking to people. So I try to spread it on out. Now so hopefully this interview will reach everybody here in the chat that doesn't necessarily come to my channel, or people who know me only as horror will come and say, well, who's that guy he's interviewing? That's
Right.
not a horror person.
Nothing to do with horror.
Right. So
Yeah.
I want to stick around and find out find out what it's all about.
That's great. I notice I'm going to have a lot of trouble pronouncing the name here. Not interweb Kajuyu. Forgive me. I don't mean to not be able to get that. They mentioned something earlier about how do you feel about YouTube Shorts and their algorithm? You've been having to hit not interested sometimes on lots of ones that YouTube suggests. So that's still a young beast. That thing was only brought in, I forget if it was September or October or not too long before that. It's not even been quite a year yet, I think, that we've been working with Shorts. And I didn't start experimenting with them until around November. So Shorts can be a great addition to anybody's channel. YouTube has announced a little bit of monetization, but because they're not clear about it, what everybody may not realize is that that monetization is saved only for the biggest YouTuber. Somebody like me making a short, even if it got millions of views, don't have a chance of getting any of that monetization right now. However, I'm sure they're going to monetize them later, so it's good to be early in the game. If it's not suitable for your channel, then I wouldn't bother. But if you want to experiment and you have ideas, then it's good. I've done some shorts. Like, for instance, I keep joking, I've done staring at a Ferris wheel, which is a part of my life for the area that I live in. But I've also done like a duck crossing the road, which has nothing to do with anything. And for that reason, like, I don't think that's a great addition to my channel. What can happen with shorts is it's like winning the lottery. You might make a short video and it might get thousands and thousands of views, maybe even more. And you will get subscribers from that. But you have to remember that those people were there for that content. So if I get subscribers because a duck crosses a road, they're just probably into either cute stuff or ducks, or they'll just subscribe to anybody. I don't expect them to follow my vinyl record videos or my flight lessons or TuberChat or any of that stuff. So it may not relate into anything of real value, just another subscriber. And I'm happy for every subscriber, but I hope you get what I mean by that.
Yeah,
but
I can break it down. So basically, like if someone comes over and sees you short, and let's say they do sub you, and that's the reason why they're there, yeah, they might help you push to that monetization mark, but you still are going to be lacking watch hours. So you could be sitting over there 1,000 people and still be a long, long away from being monetized because you don't have the watch hours, because someone's sitting there watching a 30-second clip. So they're not necessarily doing you a huge favor.
But I think that it can help a channel if the shorts can be an accent to what you're already doing on your channel. So in the case of a horror movie channel, you could do an unboxing of a limited edition horror movie DVD or a Blu-ray or something like that. That is associated, right? So somebody who notices that and subscribes because they saw a horror movie unboxing very quickly as a short video might be interested in your horror movie content beyond that. So it's a thought. I mean, here's the thing. I haven't done enough experimenting to really be any kind of an influencer or an authority when it comes to shorts. They seem to be, like I said, just winning the lottery, right? We have seen creators who've gained like 25,000 subscribers from doing shorts videos, and then they struggle with monetization because you're right, Patrick. There's no watch hours to follow up because the short was something that has nothing to do with the rest of the content, and they weren't there for that. So I would encourage anybody to experiment. What I always suggest to everybody is film everything and put every idea out that you have, because you can always delete it. You can always film something and not use it, and you can always change your mind next year if you want to. So I hope that's somewhat useful.
Yep. Let's see what else is being said out here. Let's see. Doomsday Kingdom said I did one short early on and has most views by a lot. Luckily, it fits what I do. Yeah, I've been lucky too. I mean, I haven't gotten massive views off it, but I'm still learning it. But I'm doing like shorts with the cheetah. One, because there's not very many people who own cheetahs, and two, and he's also damn cute. But that's just a plug. Let's see if there's any other questions about the. Yeah, see, I think shorts was basically YouTube's version of trying to compete with TikTok. Which to me, honestly, can I tell you, I don't know why they're trying that, because, see, I see TikToks as sort of like I see Twitter. I see both those platforms, and this is how I see it. I see both those platforms as being totally self-centered. There's no community in there. There's no community in, like in Twitter. Like I said, I had over 3,000 people, but there's no community there. There was no community there. Like every Friday they do a follow hashtag follow FF follow Friday.
Yep.
I used to do that like, and people knew me for that. Did I ever get it back? Not once. Not once. There's no community. And TikTok too. I think TikTok too is just it's just that whole people are jumping up and down, saying, yell at me, look at me, look at me, look at me. And this is the difference I do see with YouTube is, like coming together and to getting somebody over 1,000 subscribers.
Mhm.
I haven't seen that on either one of those two platforms.
So
I haven't seen that on Facebook. I haven't seen that on Instagram. Let's get this person some stuff. I do see it here.
right.
And that's why, I mean, YouTube frustrates me because I had my struggles early with retaining subscribers, though it does seem a little bit better now.
Mhm.
Uh, but I just don't like those other two platforms because they don't bring anything to the party, as far as I'm
So
concerned.
here's the thing again about that, right? So people are going to have the best success with the platforms that they like, right? So TikTok is its own thing, but I don't see myself there. So of course I'm not going to do well there. I could go make 10 TikTok videos tomorrow, but I don't think I'm going to do well there. I believe I'm going to do well on YouTube, and therefore I do. But we're all drawn to different networks. So I'll bet that there are people out there who would contradict and say, oh, there's absolutely community in Twitter. Their whole tagline is join the conversation. Now, I don't see a lot of conversating on Twitter, but I don't use it as aggressively as most people do. I literally on Twitter do the look at me, look at me, look at me. I put out the TuberChat posts. I hope a few people come back in. And that's really all that Twitter is used for me, along with a lot of other things. So my understanding, if I'm even close to being right, is that TikTok may have been banned in India. And so what the other platforms like YouTube and Instagram were trying to do is capture some of that audience because the Indian audience is so unbelievably huge, right? Then as well, with the questionable future of TikTok while Trump was in the presidency, was another reason why they should aggressively go after the TikTok crowd in case it wasn't going to be there anymore, right? So I don't know if I'm right about that. That's the way I understand it right now.
There's a lot of
But
people who say
it's still a different beast. People who are drawn to TikTok are drawn to TikTok. People who are drawn to Snapchat are drawn to Snapchat. Just the way that it is. We all have different mentalities. The same reason why I might eat, a hamburger and you might eat a hot dog. It's, we just like different things. And I don't know how shorts could really have the same impact that TikTok does. I think shorts are really just going to be a TikTok for the YouTube crowd. For the YouTube people who aren't going to go to TikTok because they don't like it, are going to enjoy shorts on YouTube, or because we're already there. 60 or 70% of the TuberChat crowd are on a phone. We know that already. So we know that shorts are being presented to them, and maybe that's the idea. Maybe YouTube is just thinking, hey, we've already got the eyeballs. Let's just add this thing in there, even if people don't care. I don't watch a lot of short videos myself, right? Because I focus on longer form content from everybody.
Okay, I admit I tend to watch short, especially if there's a cute cat involved. I'm just saying. That's just
And
me.
to each his own.
Everybody has their kryptonite, and cats are mine.
Well, I'm also not on a phone most of the time. I almost I'm never on a phone. If
I don't take my phone with me. Even though I get told all the time, film it. I generally don't take my phone with me when I go outside. I generally here. I don't, I just don't want to be one of those people that pulls it out 140 times every day.
Right. So I absolutely do. I always have my phone on me, but the work that I do does not allow one hand to be free to be on the phone, right? If I'm working, for instance. So I tend not to watch YouTube on the phone very much. If I see a notification for something I don't want to miss, like if I'm out working on a Tuesday and Scratch and PPA has his premiere, absolutely I'm going to be there if I can. I've only missed one that he's ever done because I was working. I can't be on the phone. But I do have the phone. It's just I don't watch a lot of shorts because I'm not on the phone to watch them, right? I've seen them. I've done some, and this and that, but it's not something that draws to me. And because monetization is not there, like I said, most of the people who are going to come through TuberChat are going to have monetization on their radar. So it's not as relevant as the long form content. So I put a lot more focus on the things that I think are going to benefit everybody that surrounds my social circle, than shorts right now, but we'll see. I keep my eye on it. We'll see what happens with it. As soon as they announce monetization, I'll make sure I'm up to speed so that we can be giving everybody the best information. And if I find things that I think will fly on shorts or like that can be beneficial based on the other channels, then I'll experiment more with those as well.
Yeah, I have to say this. I have to say that Tuesdays with Scratch and Pete, that's definitely one of my favorite things to the week too. That's such high energy. I love it. I just keep on waiting for him to win. I just want him to win. You know, he deserves to win something. And you know, imagine what it would be like if he actually popped a hit of like $1 million ticket. I would just be it'd be so
Anything's
amazing
possible.
for us to watch. Yeah. Okay, it is getting really close to end time, so I just want to go ahead and thank our special guest Kevin Kaye from TuberChat. I'm going to leave all his information down below. YouTube channel,
home address, personal cell phone number.
We haven't gotten there yet. As if I ever get over my shyness about talking on the phone.
Yeah.
But I'm going to leave his channel and his information down below. We hope that you will come and connect with him. Of course, you guys all can come back and rewatch this and pick up people here if you haven't connected with them. Just go ahead and type their names in and connect with them there. To anybody who was kind and gracious enough to connect with me and the Cheetah, thank you so much. You guys rock. This Wednesday at June 16th at 8 o'clock Eastern Time, we will be back with another edition of 8 Questions With. We'll be talking with the artist Angela, who runs the Morbid Heart Designs. She will be here at 8 o'clock, and she has some incredible skills. You don't want to miss that. She's awesome. On June 23rd, I have actor Joshua Hahn here. He's an amazing actor and activist, and he has some incredible stories to tell. And on the 30th of June, we have actor Timothy J. Cox, who has made several awesome movies as well. And he is like the master of the short film. So you guys are talking about shorts. Well, Timothy Cox is the master of the shorts. So hopefully you guys all come back for that. And I will post times down below as well. Kevin, this has been a real honor. This went awesome. I'm so happy.
Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed this conversation because I had said to everybody in the TuberChat crowd earlier before we came over that I knew you had questions intended for me, but I hadn't asked you what those would be. So it would be as much of a surprise for me as it was for everybody. But I appreciate it because we've talked about different things today. Some of what I usually talk about when we get into like details about YouTube and the algorithm and, you know, things we could do for our channels, but a lot of personal stuff as well, which is great. I really appreciate the idea of sharing those stories, and I'm glad you have that content out there now.
I think your followers, from what I'm gathering, I've been watching the viewing, and I think that they agree with that because I think they get an idea of who you are more as a human being, and I think that really adds to your appeal and what you're doing for them. And
it absolutely should. From a marketing standpoint, let's just say everybody who's a creator, whether it's on YouTube or anywhere else, you know, eventually, if you can put a little bit of yourself into what you're presenting, and like you said, you know, get a little bit behind the personality of the person behind the channels and stuff like that, you'll find that your audience will be that much more drawn to you. You know, when they find out the little things about you that they didn't know, like for instance, the fact that I like vinyl records. You don't have to care about vinyl records, but you might feel more connected to me now because you're like, well, I know he likes vinyl records. You know what I mean? And things like that. And I enjoy learning about creators as we continue our relationships and our connections so that we can all get to know each other a little bit better. This is how it turns into friends and eventually family. And I appreciate everybody engaging the conversation. You know, again, forgive me, but I don't want anybody to ever think that I wish to tell everybody what they should or shouldn't do. It's not that at all. I learn from creators of all sizes every single day. And for that reason, I'm very grateful. What I wish is for all of us to share everything that we learn with each other so that we can all continue to grow and we can all continue to improve, myself included. You know, this has been a great interview, and I really do appreciate the consideration and the thought that you put into this as an idea before we even did it. So again, I'm glad that this content is out there now, and I'm glad we've had a chance to connect this way.
Me too. So everybody here, listen to what he says. So come connect with us. We will be back here again Wednesday. Thank you so much, Kevin. Thank you, everybody in the chat. You guys
Thank
rock it
you.
out. And I will see some of you later tonight at 10 p.m. on Hobbs Horror Channel. Hobbs Horror, I'll be there at 10 o'clock tonight with actress Danielle Harris. Thank you so much, and we are out of here.
Great. Thanks, everyone.
As soon as it lets me disconnect.